which job is a lot less fun than most people expect.
Video game tester. You aren't spending your time playing completed, fully realized games. You are playing the same level of a game over and over, seeing if there are bugs.
After reading through this thread for 20 minutes, I've concluded that every job sucks.
Zookeeper. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome to be around so many amazing animals and care for them. But the smells are ridiculously, insanely foul. I have a really strong stomach and it's still tough for me. We've had some interns quit over it. I was warned about the smells when getting into the field, but thought, oh, I've volunteered at animal shelters. I know what animal stink smells like. Nope. Not even close.
I always say the more fun it is to go somewhere, the worse it is to work there, like amusement parks and arcades.
I'm a marine biologist. I spent the last week measuring defrosted fish heads.
I have seen this question before, and then it was Zookeeper at the top comment too. Nice. Anyways, there's this making of Frozen 2 mini docu. Most animators work weeks for a minute of animation of one character, if not less. At one point, they decided to leave out a piece that one person had solely been working on. Must be crappy to be part of the credits without being able to say this is my part.
Baker, coming into work at 3-4, so you can have a 6 baked goods is miserable.
Working in a music store, musical instruments. Your days are spent listening to 50 different people play 50 different riffs poorly simultaneously, as if they're all putting on their own concert.
Paleontologist. You don't get to work with full dinosaur skeletons and do all kinds of awesome expedition. You're mostly sitting at a desk looking at some pictures and logging stuff on your computer, maybe examining a fossil occasionally.
If you're lucky, you can go on a real dig and OMG spend hours in the hot sun dusting off rocks.
Working at Charles Dickens Fair is interesting, but not incredibly fun. It is hard to stay in character, and people get so mad when they see the Alice in Wonderland area. Yeah, we know it's not Charles Dickens, but we can't have a kids' play area in the world of Oliver Twist, okay?
Video game testing. I've been working in the game industry for 6 years now and teaching for 2. Testing video games is thought to be just, oh, you just play games all day? Lol. But it's actually very specific and arduous. First of all, there are a bunch of testing methodologies such as load-soak testing, white room testing, version testing to name a few. But the most common one is functionality testing. Functionality testing is so if I walk into that corner with a shotgun in my inventory, I can clip through the wall. But if I have my N16 in my inventory, I don't clip through.
Being a writer. I always thought it was my absolute dream job, but the only job I could get after college was working in a content mill as a blog writer. I used to work 70-hour weeks staring at the computer in a basement of an old bank writing bullshit articles about the dangers of mold, fence cleaning, and why you need a commercial awning, and the dream turned into a nightmare. While I still write occasionally, I am now working as a communications person, so it is a bit less heavy.
Accountant. Everyone thinks it's all fun and number crunching. But the constant stream of women throwing their panties and wanting to bear your children is honestly exhausting.
Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.1 of incredibly lucky and talented people who manage to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99 sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap.
Video game developer, non-indie. They're notoriously overworked, especially during crunch time.
The field is highly competitive too, so I imagine if you have the slightest issue with work being your entire life, it wouldn't be hard to replace you.
Voice acting is also pretty brutal.
Voice actors
generally don't get paid very well and they're straining their throats or whatever.
Well, I'm a scientist. I don't know if people usually think of that career as fun, but I think people think it's a lot more eureka. And a lot less, this data has to be manually processed for 600 hours before I can analyze it.
Librarian. It's not all books and being quiet. There are also spreadsheets.
Working in a flower shop. It's just like any other retail job, but people constantly tell you how fun your job must be. Also, helping grieving families choose funeral flowers is not fun.
Event planner. It's hell on earth when you have a million things going on and you're waiting for everything to come together.
I honestly think being a streamer and a YouTuber is a lot less fun than it seems to be, but a lot of people know that by now still, though it doesn't seem unfun.
Barnes & Noble, your job has literally nothing to do with books. It obviously attracts a lot of that type, myself included.
I'm a forensic scientist and it's literally the only thing people ask me about on dating apps. It's very technical work and it's extremely routine.
A pediatric nurse, being a nurse for children and adolescents, everyone in nursing school talks about how much they want to work with kids. The reality is that a pediatric nurse sees more cases of abuse and neglect than any other specialty. Doesn't matter where you are in a pediatric hospital, it's the thing you see most. I've seen so many DCs, Department of Child Services, caseworkers that I've gotten to know some of them and became acquaintances with them. Sure, working with children and adolescents is great, but people don't think about the most essential piece of that puzzle, which is their families. It doesn't matter how good of care you give to those kids, if you don't loop the parents into that care, you may as well just not be doing anything for them.
Working at an amusement park.
Honest, most real answer. Any job, every job. Until you've done it, you only have an idealized version of it in your head.
Teacher. Children are psychic vampires.
Video editor. The more I do it, the more I can't be arsed.
Pilot. You could lose your career with a single illness or injury, which could be happening to me soon.
Being a boss or manager of any kind. You think it's gonna be all gravy cause you're on top, but there are two ways it can go. 1. You're overworked and still not getting paid enough for this shit. 2. No one is paying attention to your work because you are the boss, so you don't actually have to do anything, or even have anything to do, so you are just chronically bored out of your skull, trying to find something to do that looks like boss work.
An artist's time management is very hard. And it becomes more of a job instead of fun hobby.
Preschool teacher, especially with new COVID-19 regulations. Ever try social distancing 3-year-olds?
Oh my gosh. Build-A-Bear. Weirdest and most frustrating thing. Granted, I didn't make it a super long time in the job and seeing kids so happy is great, but they are really strict and the bad times get pretty bad.
Theme park security guard ride assistant. Yes, they're the same job. People constantly come at you with the stupidest questions and entitled attitude, all the while your bosses force you to work extra hours every day because they don't have the nerve to tell people to go once it's closing time.
Programmer. People see it as an anonymous figure typing a few lines of code and gaining access to top-secret files. In reality, it's 10 coding and 90 searching your problems on Stack Overflow.
Working at Victoria's Secret. People think it's a lot of hot women coming in to buy